According to IRS Form 990, the filings reveal disturbing financial irregularities, okay, with Jermaine Shamak. That's how he files it. He doesn't file it under Dr. Umar Shamak. It's Jermaine, okay?
According to IRS Form 990, shocking details just came to light. Filings showed financial irregularities tied directly to the name Jermaine Shamak. That's the government record, plain and simple. Notice something? He didn't file under Dr. Umar Johnson. No, he filed it under Jermaine Shamak. And now the FBI has shattered Dr. Umar's empire wide open, slapping him with new federal charges that could have him staring down decades in a cell. We're not talking about some small paperwork mistake here. These are heavy federal crimes: RICO, tax fraud, and wire fraud. And the wildest part? The feds are saying they've got receipts, real paper trails, that link straight back to the millions in donations he collected under the promise of building his dream school. This isn't just speculation. Investigators are claiming they can trace every shady move.
And the bank told me to enter my 16-digit card number. I did that. They told me they had no record of my account. They had no record of my account.
Suddenly, the king of unapologetic speeches can't just talk his way out. And now everyone is asking the same burning question. Was Dr. Umar always a fraud, or is he the victim of a calculated setup? But before diving deeper into the actual charges, we need to rewind to the exact moment Dr. Umar realized he was about to be locked up, because that moment says everything.
The Umar has access to no money right now because my personal account contains all of my money. I only send it to Apple Pay and PayPal as necessary. So the Prince of Pan-Afrikanism, for the first time in my life, is without any digital currency. So for my loyal supporters out there, if you can spare a few dollars so I can take care of Queen Mother Ifa Tunde and myself until my bank account is frozen or canceled so I can get my money back and open up a new account, please hit my Apple Pay or hit my PayPal.
Umar jumped on Instagram Live in a full-blown rant, blasting the system and accusing it of targeting an innocent black man who was simply trying to uplift his community. The energy was classic Umar, dramatic and theatrical, but this time there was a different edge. He wasn't just performing for the camera. He looked shaken, his voice cracked, his face looked worn, and his body language screamed panic, like a man who had just been blindsided by a nightmare come to life.
Pan-Afrikanism, brothers and sisters, I'm back again. While I was on the live, the children had snuck into the school, which means they knew the door was unlocked. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. For children to know that a door is opened, and I was only away from the school for 30 days. For children to know that the door was open, and I was only away from the school for 30 days. For children to know the door was open, and I was only away from the school for 30 days, I wonder when they broke in. I wonder when they broke in, because if the children already know the door was open.
He painted himself as the victim once again, but the words didn't sound like his usual fiery monologues. This was fear. This was desperation. And for the first time, even his most loyal supporters had to stop and wonder what was really going on behind the scenes. On that live stream, Umar wasn't just yelling into the camera. He was begging for sympathy while ranting about his accounts being frozen. And now it all makes sense, because those very accounts are at the heart of the federal fraud case that could bury him behind bars for decades.
Why, Dr. Umar is not a real person that anybody should be taking any advice from. I hope that we all understand that, but it seems like some folks are surprised.
Turns out that meltdown happened just minutes after federal agents told him point blank, "Turn yourself in." If you rewatch the footage closely, you can literally see the shift in his eyes, the exact second it hit him, that his whole operation, the school dream he dangled in front of donors for years, was about to be blown to pieces. The empire he built on speeches, donations and promises, was collapsing in real time, and his audience didn't even realize what they were witnessing.
Now, according to IRS Form 990, the filings reveal disturbing financial irregularities, okay, with Jermaine Shamak. That's how he files it. He doesn't file it under Dr. Umar. It's Jermaine, okay? Now, the nonprofit shows assets of $634,436 as of 2024. This is what he's saying that he raised. This is what he reported. Okay, now you know he go begging inside of that car without a haircut every other day or on the side of the building in which he lives in, because they say his house is right there on a row house in Philadelphia somewhere. Okay, according to the IRS filings, this is inconsistent reporting of contributions. Okay, now while official filings show that only $321,408 in total contributions over the last 5 years, evidence suggests Johnson raised significantly more through.
According to reports, Umar eventually did what the feds demanded. He surrendered. But he did it his way. Behind closed doors, he told his inner circle that there could be no press coverage whatsoever. No mugshots, no cameras, no public statements. Just a quiet, almost secretive surrender. Why? Because he knew the moment images of him in cuffs hit the internet, the illusion would be destroyed forever.
You mentioned Umar Johnson, and I don't know what's going on with his school, but I know that
you
there
know
was
what's going on with the school. It ain't been built. Shit, ain't nobody seen the classroom. Just seen the flag hanging out, flying in front of that.
They've been talking about it for 15 years, 16 years or something like that.
Yeah. He been lying. And results is everything.
Yeah.
Results is everything. I ain't never built nothing begging. Other than Joel Osteen, but his daddy passed him to church.
Yeah, that is true.
His daddy passed. I ain't never seen him do nothing begging.
His biggest fear wasn't at the cell. It was the world finally seeing him for the scammer people had whispered about for years. But here's the kicker. What Umar couldn't predict was how quickly things would spiral out of his control. While he was scrambling to sweep his RICO charges under the rug, the feds were already preparing to leak damning documents that spelled out his schemes in black and white. And right when the smoke was rising, who comes storming into the conversation? Tasha K. And you already know, when Tasha steps in, she doesn't just talk, she drops receipts.
GoFundMe campaigns, all right, that he's been suspended from through 2014 and 2015 of over $400,000 raised before the account suspension. That's a lot of money for GoFundMe, okay? PayPal donations, approximately $125,000 documented. Speaking fees and direct donations, estimated $750,000. This man raising all this money and ain't got a haircut yet. Total estimated funds, 1.6 to 2 million that they can account for, and this is with them digging. They've been on this, okay? And we're gonna talk about how much they've been on it, and that's the reason why that damn school is on the auction block right now, vacant school that never opened. And he promised to open it in 2013 and kept pushing back the opening date and blamed us, well, not me, y'all, if y'all donated, as to why it can't open, because black people can't stick together, okay? Even though he was running it like a mom and pop shop.
Tasha K wasted no time tearing into Dr. Umar's empire, dropping a YouTube bombshell that had viewers glued to their screens. She didn't just speculate, she documented. In that video, she exposed the dark truth about what Umar has really been doing with his so-called charity organization. And it all starts with the crown jewel of his movement, his school. Because here's why that matters. The FBI's indictment uses those very donations, the money that was supposed to build that school, as hard evidence in their fraud and racketeering case. Tasha wasn't tossing gossip. She came armed with facts, figures, and filings. She claimed Umar was secretly skimming donations for personal luxuries, treating charity funds like his own private bank account. And worse, she alleged he deliberately refused to give a full accounting of where the money went in order to duck paying taxes. That's exactly why the feds are circling him now, ready to drag him into a courtroom. Listen closely, Tasha told her audience. Because the numbers don't lie. She pulled up the paperwork, pointing to the IRS Form 9990, the smoking gun. According to those filings, the name tied to the nonprofit isn't even Dr. Umar Johnson. Nope, it's listed under Jermaine Shama. And that is not just a name issue, it is the kind of red flag that gets federal investigators sharpening their knives. The filings showed the non-profit claiming 634,436 in assets as of 2024. That is the figure Umar himself reported as the money he supposedly raised. But the glaring question is this: if nearly 635 kali really came in for the school, then where is the school? Where are the receipts? And why does it all look like one giant illusion built on other people's hard-earned donations? And here's where it gets almost embarrassing. People have spotted Umar out in his car, looking unkempt, begging for money without even getting a proper haircut, or standing outside the very building where he lives, hustling for donations. Word is, his home is just a modest row house in Philadelphia. Nothing close to the image of a community leader sitting on nearly $1 million in assets. The optics are wild, and when you put that next to the paperwork, it raises even more eyebrows.
And if we're being real, that doesn't look like something so bad that the school's opening had to be postponed by a whole year.
According to those IRS filings, the numbers don't add up. The official reports claim only $321,408 in total contributions over the last 5 years. But independent evidence suggests he actually pulled in far more through other channels. That's a serious inconsistency, and in the eyes of federal investigators, it screams fraud. Here is the context that makes it all so damning. Umar has been out here for years, soliciting funds to build this school. And it is not like he had savings or big investors behind him. Every dime he has ever put toward this project has come directly from the public. The whole dream was funded by everyday people, loyal followers who believed in his words and his mission. But instead of transparency, what did they get? Silence and demands. Umar has never given a clear breakdown of how much money was collected or where it went. No itemized list, no proof of progress, just rants online, pressuring African Americans to abandon the public school system and funnel even more money his way. And now the truth is catching up with him. The donations that were supposed to uplift the community are now evidence in a case that could bury him for good. The so-called school was supposed to be his crown achievement, the project that would change the future, but many people recognized it for what it really was, a grift. Even the name of the school carried red flags. Umar loudly claimed to be a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass, using that lineage to boost his credibility. But here's the truth. He's never proven it, and not one member of the Douglass family has ever acknowledged him as kin. That's not just suspicious, it's manipulative branding at its finest. Still, plenty of people didn't question it. Believers poured their hard-earned money into Umar's dream, trusting his word that the school was coming. Yet years have gone by, and the doors have never opened. Each time an opening date got close, something mysteriously went wrong. Was it just bad luck? Or was Umar deliberately manufacturing delays to keep the money flowing without ever delivering? Prosecutors say it's the latter, and now they've got evidence to back it up. They point to the latest so-called delay, and this one is raising major eyebrows. In June, Umar claimed the school was vandalized, reporting that cultural artifacts in the library were destroyed. But instead of sympathy, That report has become a centerpiece in the federal case. Prosecutors argue the vandalism wasn't just suspicious. It was a staged excuse designed to explain why there was still no progress, and more importantly, to cover the fact that hundreds of thousands in donations had already vanished. The so-called vandalism story gets even stranger when you break it down. Umar claimed the destruction targeted educational supplies and cultural artifacts, conveniently leaving the building itself untouched. Think about that. It was just enough damage to justify pushing back the grand opening, but not enough to actually require major repairs. To make the whole thing look convincing, Umar even posted a video of himself interrogating a group of kids, trying to paint them as the culprits behind the chaos. But here's the disturbing part. He filmed those minors and uploaded it online without their parents' consent. That alone raised eyebrows, but it gets worse.
And, I helped the guy get the truth. Yeah, he started attacking me, and then I started getting in on him. So we fell out. And, I told people back in 2017, I said, let me keep it a bean, man. That school ain't never going to get built. That's just, don't ask me about it again. That's my opinion. It ain't going to get built, man. Just base. If it's going to get built, it would have been built already. It don't take that.
When police looked into the alleged vandalism, they couldn't piece together a single clear account of what happened. No witnesses, no official records, no real evidence at all. The only proof this attack ever occurred is Umar's own video clip. And if you watch it, it looks more like stage theater than a crime scene. And let's be real, the damage shown wasn't anything close to catastrophic. Nothing in that clip explains why the school had to be delayed for another entire year. It didn't add up, and the public knew it. The questions kept piling up online, but one viral comment nailed the mood perfectly. It read, "Where's the proof of this supposed damage, Umar? Charged with fraud, but still giving excuses?" That line echoed across social media, sparking a wave of doubt that even his loyal supporters couldn't ignore. Vandalism? Really? Then where's the insurance claim? Where are the photos? Why not a single shred of proof? Those were the questions blowing up online, and people weren't holding back. One viral post even cut straight to the bone. Maybe the real vandal here isn't some random kid. It's you, Umar, and this entire fake project. And then came the deeper sting, from people who actually understood finance. They called out his rambling posts about frozen accounts, pointing out the glaring errors that proved he was just spinning tales to buy time. A few weeks later, the truth behind the so-called vandalism unraveled, and it hit like a bomb. Turns out, it wasn't vandals at all dragging his school into chaos. The real problem. Umar hadn't been paying basic bills. Reports revealed he was behind on vacant property registration fees and even utility payments. That negligence left the property circling the drain, already flagged for auction. Court documents showed the building was scheduled to hit the auction block by August 25, 2025, unless Umar came up with the money. The whole school was seconds from being snatched right from under him. Backed into a corner, Umar did what he always does. He flipped the script and went on the defensive. He ranted that the fees were punitive and discriminatory, accusing the state of trying to sabotage his dream school. And instead of taking accountability, he doubled down, begging supporters for more donations. He framed himself as a victim of systemic oppression, hoping to turn outrage into sympathy. But by then, the cracks in his empire were too big to hide. And according to Tasha K, all of these stunts, crying about vandalism, ranting about frozen accounts, playing the victim, were nothing more than tactics designed to stall the inevitable and keep Umar out of jail for as long as possible. But if you thought what Tasha dropped was explosive, buckle up, because the leaked federal documents hit like a nuclear bomb. Those papers exposed what prosecutors are calling his PayPal scam, and that's the very evidence that proved the feds were never going to let him slide. The report laid it out in black and white. Umar had allegedly pulled in more than $1.5 million in donations through GoFundMe and PayPal, spread across different charity causes. Some were tied to his infamous school project, while others were pitched as programs to uplift the black community. But here's the problem. No one can point to a single concrete achievement from any of these campaigns. No schools built, no programs launched, no results to show. Just excuses, delays, and endless online rants. And the paper trail only made things uglier. Federal filings revealed that between 2014 and 2015 alone, Umar's GoFundMe campaigns brought in more than $400,000 before his accounts were suspended for violations. Yet despite those suspensions, he kept hopping platforms, running new appeals for donations, and cashing in on the loyalty of his supporters. Every time critics demanded answers, Umar fired back with the same routine, posting videos where he blamed the system, insisting that the government was targeting him because he was a black leader speaking truth to power. But the feds weren't buying it anymore, because now they had receipts. That's not just pocket change we're talking about. These are serious numbers. GoFundMe donations alone added up to hundreds of thousands. PayPal contributions? More. Put it all together, and investigators say Umar S. Hall sits somewhere between 1.6 to 2 million, and that's just what they can account for with receipts. Who knows how much more never even hit the books? And the kicker, despite all that money, the man can't even afford a clean haircut. The feds have been watching closely, digging into every cent. And that's exactly why the so-called school he promised is now sitting on the auction block, an abandoned property that never opened, despite him first announcing it all the way back in 2013. Year after year, he dangled false hope in front of donors, always pushing back the opening date. And every delay came with the same excuse, blaming the very community that supported him. He'd tell donors that the school hadn't opened because black people can stick together. But in reality, he was running the entire project like a mom-and-pop hustle, pocketing funds while stalling progress. For a while, those tactics kept his empire alive. But then more and more people started asking hard questions he couldn't answer. And that's when Charleston White entered the picture, tearing Umar's image apart. Charleston didn't hold back. He accused Umar of preying on black women, using emotional blackmail to keep donations flowing. He said Umar pretends to be their ally, a leader fighting for them, when in reality, he's just pandering for cash. And the sad part? Charleston White wasn't wrong. His words hit a nerve because they lined up with everything the feds had already uncovered. Umar's so-called movement was starting to look less like a revolution and more like a con game. Dr. Umar has always paraded himself as a champion of black women, calling himself their ally and protector. He even took public shots at men like Jonathan Majors for dating outside of their race, claiming to stand firmly with black women. But the hypocrisy runs deep, because the same Umar who preaches loyalty is also the one who turns on those very women, insulting them and belittling them whenever they dare to question where their money went. That double standard has become impossible to ignore. And here is the twist that changes everything. It is not just his critics or so-called haters calling him out anymore. The cracks are showing inside his own camp. People who once rode for Umar, who once defended his dream school, are now pulling their funds, demanding accountability and quietly erasing him from their social media feeds. Others are going even further, publicly calling him a crook, labeling him a con artist, and openly questioning if he's been running a straight-up criminal operation this entire time. The biggest shock came when one of his closest allies, Tariq Nasheed, flipped on him. Tariq sat down for an interview with DJ Vlad, and he didn't sugarcoat a thing. When asked about Umar's antics, Tariq admitted that he once believed in the school project. He said he bought into the dream, just like the community did. But now, he made it clear, what Umar built wasn't a school, it was a hustle. And that revelation is critical, because when even Umar's own allies start backing up the FBI, has claimed that this was never about education, it is the final nail in the coffin of his empire. What started as the so-called Pan-African dream slowly unraveled into something that looked a lot more like fraud. Tariq admitted in his Vlad TV interview that he personally donated a sizable amount of money to Umar's vision. He wanted to believe in the promise of a school for the community. But over time, his faith began to crumble as Umar drifted away from that mission. Instead of focusing on bricks, books, and students, Umar was chasing social media clout, stirring up drama and diving headfirst into conspiracy rants that had nothing to do with education. Then came the final straw, the breaking point between them. Tariq revealed that their fallout started when he tried to warn Umar not to get distracted, to stay focused on the mission. Instead of listening, Umar lashed out. And in that interview, you could see it. The respect Tariq once had for him fading away, replaced with the cold realization that Umar wasn't a leader at all, but a shady operator running a hustle. But Tariq's disillusionment wasn't even the worst of it, because while Umar thought he was untouchable, the FBI had already been watching from the shadows. In fact, Umar's troubles with the feds didn't even begin with money. His first major strike came back in 2018, when the State Board of Psychology accused him of practicing without a license. That wasn't just embarrassing, it exposed a pattern of deception. And now federal prosecutors are using that early scandal as part of a bigger case to prove Umar has been running scams for years, stacking lie after lie until the entire empire finally collapsed.